Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Rangers welcome the Astros to Globe Life Field with a cushy 2-game lead, looking to make it 3 in the ALCS. Also, Kyler Murray returns to practice for the Cardinals, and the Marlins continue to be an unserious franchise. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
In the battle for Texas, the Rangers had a 2-0 lead headed into Game 3 with a chance to put a stranglehold on this one. The Astros came out smoking hot and ended up holding off a late Rangers rally for an 8-5 win. Joining me now from Locked On Rangers, Bryce Paterick. And Bryce, this is, I don't want to say a gravy game, because certainly you go up 3-0, you feel like you have a really good chance to go to the World Series, but you're not going to have the same level of urgency when you're the team leading 2-0. So what did you see from Texas in this game?
Well, it was people will point to immediately, Max Scherzer, maybe he came back too early. And I don't think that was necessarily the case. There was a lot of really good pitches. I mean, he had 4 strikeouts in his 4 innings of work. A lot of the hits were not super hard hit, and a couple of mistakes in this one really came back to bite him. He was sharp, except for the pitches that he wasn't. And, those pitches that he wasn't, that's the difference in, him going 4 shutout innings or 5 shutout innings and him giving up 5 runs in 4 innings of work. I mean, he had some really good pitches. He was up 0-2 on the hottest hitter on the planet in Yordan Alvarez, and he hit him in the foot with a pitch, and that ended up being the first run. He gave up a 2-run single to Martin Maldonado, who statistically is one of the worst postseason batters ever. I mean, in the regular season, he's also bad as well, not just a postseason special, but it's just these little opportunities that have let them get away, these walks to hitters later on. I mean, they walked Kyle Tucker 3 times. This one, he scored twice. And those kind of things come back to bite you, especially when your offense, can get you back into it. And they did it against a really tough bullpen in the Astros. I mean, Brian Abreu hadn't allowed a run since, I believe, the end of July. And the Rangers got to him for just the 1 run, but still made it a safe situation. The Rangers used their pitching staff well. Getting 4 innings out of Scherzer when he hadn't pitched in a month and a half, you didn't really know what you were going to get from him. He was mostly pretty solid. You get John Gray back in there in a low leverage situation, get to see what he actually looks like, because you also didn't know what he would look like coming back in. And they didn't use either of their 2 main length guys that did well in Game 1 of the ALDS in Andrew Heaney and Dane Dunning. So you probably have those guys combining for 2 to 3 to 4 innings each tomorrow, and you didn't use any of your 8 bullpen, which you've used a whole lot this whole postseason. So it's frustrating to lose, and frustrating to lose at any time. Christian Javier was just on one today, and sometimes it happens.
So what can you push forward here when you're trying to say, okay, now it's a series? So how do you get back on track? How do you get back to playing winning baseball if you're the Rangers?
Well, the Rangers really need something from their top 2 hitters. It's been a rough series so far for Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. I mean, Seager was walked given the Barry Bonds treatment in the ALDS. And something they mentioned on the broadcast that I think has some merit is that when you're not swinging a whole lot because you're not getting any pitches to hit, your swing kind of gets out of rhythm. And it seems like that's been the case. I thought it was just a case of, 2 games down in Houston. It's 2 good pitchers and it happens, but Corey Seager has been absolutely sensational at home in the playoffs in the regular season as well, even when he was a Dodger and at this stadium in particular, and him going 0 for 4 tonight with some bad swings and missing some hittable pitches. You need something from him. You need something from Marcus Semien to step it up. But I mean, having a multi-home run game from your number 8 hitter in Josh Young is phenomenal. Making the Astros use Brian Abreu, this is the 3rd time in 4 days that he's pitched. He's been one of the best relievers in the postseason. He's almost assuredly unavailable for the next game. So the Rangers need to get to whoever it is, whether it's Jose Urquidy or whatever the Astros decide to throw out there for their starter in Game 4. Need to get on them early, get deep into that pen. And if you can make Ryan Pressly throw in a game that they are losing, that would be another big win for the Rangers moving forward.
Stay up to date all year on the Texas Rangers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Rangers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Cardinals are close to getting Kyler Murray back on the football field. Before we get to that, Mecole Hardman returns to Kansas City. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Looking at tonight's game, there's a little intrigue in the spread. The Saints, 1.5-point favorites over the Jaguars, according to FanDuel. The Saints were 1.5-point favorites last week and lost. So will we see a repeat? Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Wide receiver Mecole Hardman, a member of 2 Super Bowl winning teams with the Kansas City Chiefs, is heading back to KC via trade from the New York Jets. Guess he didn't want to wait on Aaron Rodgers' potential return. The Chiefs are sending a 2022 6th-round draft pick to the Jets for Hardman and a 2025 7th-round pick. The Chiefs have mostly struggled with their wide receiver play this season. Their leader in catches at the position, receptions, and yards is a rookie 2nd-round draft pick, Rashee Rice. Hardman had career best 59 catches and 693 yards in 2021. His production fell off last season when he missed 8 games because of injuries, and the Kansas City Chiefs decided not to re-sign him in the offseason. The Liberty hosted the Aces for Game 4 of the WNBA Finals.
And we are coming to you live from Barclays Center, right on the podium where A'ja Wilson had more than one adult beverage and celebrated a remarkable championship, the 2nd straight championship for the Las Vegas Aces. Listeners at home, let's just go through a couple of things that means. This is the first repeat champion here in the WNBA since the 2001-2002 Los Angeles Sparks, a gap of 21 years. This took place in a 70-69 win, despite the fact that the Aces were missing not only Chelsea Gray, the heartbeat of this team, their point guard, but Kia Stotts as well, who does such important things for this team, especially on the defensive end. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that they needed 30 minutes out of Kayla George on a night where Kayla George took 10 3-point shots. It didn't matter that they needed 14 minutes and 44 seconds from renowned television star Sydney Colson.
Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson said Wednesday that he can't put a timeline on a return from a rotator cuff strain to his throwing shoulder. Watson, who did not practice Wednesday, has missed Cleveland's past 2 games and hasn't had a full practice since September 22nd. He said that it's still up in the air whether he'll be able to play Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts.
Finishing up, it's me, I'm learning through this whole process. So honestly, it's just, with the rotator cuff, it's a difficult thing with, throwing a ball than, doing, just the movement and rotation and mobility stuff. So just trying to clean up any lingering pain and any lingering, stuff that's, in that rotator cuff.
Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams is not happy with his role in the offense.
I mean, it's a work in progress. Obviously, we're going to continue to work through it. But, I mean, I'm a human being, and I have extremely high standards for myself and this offense. So, to me, it's not just about, I'm sure people thinking like, well, they won the game, they won the Packers game, why is there an issue? I mean, you see why it's an issue. Y'all should know who I am, know what I'm about at this point. So it's not about, when you're a player like me, mentally, my benchmark is not wins and losses, it's greatness. So when I go out there, I expect to be able to have that ability to put that on tape and have an influence on the game.
Seriously, though, he's the best wide receiver or one of the 2 or 3 best wide receivers in the game. Maybe get him the ball. You ever have a job where your boss was okay with you being a no-call, no-show? Apparently, James Harden believes that's fine. Harden was not at Sixers practice on Wednesday, and Coach Nick Nurse said there was no explanation given for his absence. Harden has sought a trade since picking up his $35.6 million player option for the 2023-24 season. He was expected to be at practice, though. After practice, Nurse said, "I'm still going on what he said the last time I talked to him, that he was going to ramp up and get ready to play Friday. We'll see how it goes." It seems like he caught a really bad case of I want to be traded-itis. The Arizona Cardinals started off the season as scrappy upstarts. Probably make a reasonable case. They could have started the season 3-0, but the last 3 weeks, they've looked more like the Cardinals team we expected them to be. Here comes help. In comes the cavalry. Kyler Murray is been designated to return. He tweeted out, "I'm back. I'm practicing. Let's go." Alex Clancy, speaking of let's go, joins me now from Locked On Cardinals. And Alex, does Kyler Murray coming back now, when the plan has seemed to be, okay, Caleb Williams, oh, look, this is going to be great. How does it change if he comes back sooner than maybe we expected him to come back?
I've been in an existential crisis there, Peter Bukowski, over the last 6 or 7 weeks, going back and forth, not wanting to talk about specific things on the podcast because it would look like not having the best intentions for the Arizona Cardinals for long term. It comes down to one clear-cut sentence. Kyler Murray being quarterback one for the next decade is more important than where they draft in 2024. And we see today him practicing, and that is something that is far and away. I mean, he's a couple weeks early. He may not play for a couple weeks, but within that 21-day window, I think you're going to see Kyler Murray on the field, and that is better than any draft pick for the Cardinals in 2024.
Okay, I hear you. So Caleb Williams, Drake May, like, why? Why is that more important than what could be? Because we've seen Pro Bowl level play from Kyler Murray. With the amount of bad quarterback play that's been going on in the NFL, it's been like an epidemic of just terrible, terrible quarterback play. What Kyler Murray has shown is enough to ride with him in 2024. Is it expensive? Of course. Is a rookie more risky, and will it pass the timeline down a couple years? Yes. I think you have to ride with him in 2024. They're still going to have 2 top 15 picks regardless. And you trust Monty Ossenfort with the money they're going to have in the offseason to go build a team. This could be potentially a worst to first or worst to contend for NFC team come 2024 if things align the way they're supposed to. And if Kyler Murray plays well this year. So let's say Kyler Murray does come back in the next 3 weeks. They've got Ravens, at Browns, and Falcons after the Seahawks upcoming this week. And as you mentioned, that 21-day window coming off PUP, he's got to be activated at least in that time period. What are reasonable expectations for Kyler Murray with this team, given the way it's looked so far?
I've never talked about anything that could be construed as a consolation prize more than I have over the last 2 months. But you've got to look at this as proof of concept. That's the biggest cliche term that I've used on Locked On Cardinals over the last 3 months. Proof of concept that this will work when talent is infused into the roster. Kyler Murray being the main cog in this. Picture this offense with Joshua Dobbs that has held a lead in a handful of games this year, something the Cardinals should have not been in the stratosphere of doing, and putting Kyler Murray in there with the mindset, with the mind of Drew Petzing, with Jonathan Gannon getting these guys prepared every week. That is a recipe for success. You can't predict the future. You can only prepare yourself the best for the future. And Kyler Murray, plus what we've seen so far, together gives the Cardinals the best chance to win now. And if it works with Kyler Murray, it'll be the best chance to win in the future, save the Cardinals somehow losing a bunch of games and actually getting the number 1 pick, which seems a far-fetched idea at this point with Carolina and Chicago being so bad.
How much of this is less tangible, more... You mentioned an existential crisis at the top of the show, that this is about winning and culture and saying, okay, in Arizona, we do this differently now. We are not about what could be next year. We are about focusing on trying to be the best version of ourselves now. And hey, by the way, if you lose a bunch of games, Marvin Harrison Jr. could be a pretty great consolation prize. Speaking of consolation prizes, how much of that for you is in, hey, let's bring Kyler and let's try and see what we got here?
Yeah, if they can win games this year, they're ahead of the curve. If you're ahead of the curve in the NFL, you're winning. And I know it sounds abstract, because I've talked about the abstract and not necessarily the concrete, because growth and a positive 2023 is not directly correlated to the win-loss record for the Cardinals this year. That's just where we are and what we're experiencing with that team. Kyler Murray comes back, they win games, bonus. Kyler Murray comes back, they lose a bunch of games, but he plays well, even bigger bonus. You know, like you want the Cardinals to have a 1-point lead with 2 minutes left of every game and lose every damn one. That's what people don't want to say. But if they do win games, that's a bonus also. So there is no downside to Kyler Murray coming back. The question is Jonathan Gannon true to his word that Kyler Murray is the guy no matter what? Because that's what he's built. He's edified this team on. Like, they have the quarterback. You got to find everybody else. If he plays well and that goes a different way, that could kind of put a crack in the foundation of what they've been trying to build so far without Kyler Murray playing.
Stay up to date on the Arizona Cardinals by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Cardinals on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Marlins continue to be an unserious franchise. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world today, and it's important to be prepared. Maybe you're traveling overseas. Maybe there are events taking place that are out of your control. Don't let your health also be out of your control. Jase Medical wants you to be in control of your health. That's why they have the Jase case. The Jase case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs. Jase Medical now offers customizability for your Jase case with dozens of add-on medications. Choose the medications that best fit you and your family's needs. You can also buy a gift card for your family or loved ones so that they can get a Jase case of their own. Go to jasemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jasemedical.com. Kim Ang put together a playoff roster for the Miami Marlins in 2023. She took a team from the also-rans to the wild card. For her efforts, Ang was informed that the Marlins will be hiring someone to be her superior. This is why Sully says the Marlins just aren't serious on a recent episode of Locked On Major League Baseball.
This person should win the Executive of the Year. And the Marlins say, we need someone to look after her. We need someone looking over her. And Kim Ang, who was the last year of her contract, said, no, I kind of think I did my job. She didn't say that, but that's implied. I'm about to win the general manager of the year, executive of the year. And you're saying, well, we need someone to watch over you. I'll go there. It's funny that they asked the lone female GM who did a spectacular job can you start reporting to someone else, please? It's funny because any other organization would have promoted her. Instead of essentially demoted her. She had this season when she's going to win, probably going to win Executive of the Year, and they were about to give her essentially a demotion. You know, and wondering why this situation. What's different about her? All right, if you don't want me to go there, fine. Quite frankly, I don't care because that's a little bit of a coincidence. But either way, why should she have to report to somebody? Was it she didn't follow the Marlins' great tradition of excellence? I'll tell you what's being followed is the Marlins being a Mickey Mouse organization is what they are. Oh, why can't we succeed? Why can't we succeed? You're in a huge market filled with people from the Northeast, filled with people from Latin America. In other words, the two demographics that love baseball. And you should be a destination city for major stars. Oh, I get to live in Miami as a millionaire and save a lot of taxes and live a glamorous life. Oh, why can't we succeed? Because you got a Mickey Mouse organization. Why don't the fans show up? Because they're not stupid.
When you hear women say things like they have to work twice as hard to get half as far, this is what they're talking about. And when anyone tries to tell you that the good old boys club in sports is anything close to fixed, it's not. What those people are usually saying is, don't worry about it. It's actually not a big deal. They're hand waving it as an issue altogether. But this is proof that It still is. Equality in the workplace is moving forward in a lot of areas, in a lot of places, though there's still plenty of work to do. In sports, not just Major League Baseball, but all sports, they tend to lag behind. And when you have one of the very few women in power in sports, certainly in American sports, and for reasons decide you need to hire someone above her, it only reinforces this notion that women are simply not welcome to play on the same playing field, metaphorically and literally, as men. And finally, Phil Mickelson sees LIV Golf as the future and as a vehicle to grow the game worldwide.
Really, we as a group, as a league that's trying to grow the game and bring it globally and promote the game on throughout the world, and as well as bring something different than the old stodgy format that we've had for decades.
The thing about Phil Mickelson is he has not been a relevant golfer for a couple years now. And the only time he seems to be relevant at all is when he's saying things, and he seems acutely aware of that, which is why he continues to say outlandish things that I don't even think he believes. Phil Mickelson, speaking of unserious people, right now an unserious golfer. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Now go find your favorite team's Locked On podcast and make them your second listen. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will the Saints bounce back on Thursday Night Football? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.